everyone. I'm Susan Harrow, media coach, marketing strategist, author of Sell Yourself Without Selling Your Soul, published by HarperCollins, and CEO of PRSecrets.com. And today I'm going to talk about how to pitch a podcast and be a great guest. And this is also the same information that you can use to pitch the media. So it does double duty. So first of all, watch, listen, read with the show. I mean, if it's a magazine, you're reading it, but we're talking about podcasts and media. So get familiar with the show. You may have heard this before, and you may think, oh, it's really not necessary. I don't really need to do that. You do. My assistant, Kelly Pelker, who runs the podcast for Steve Olsher, says, oh my God, I just want to tear my hair out because people do not know what the show is about, and then they come on completely unprepared. So please listen to the podcast show first so you understand the format, the style of the host, what kind of information they're looking for, so you don't get caught with your pants down. It's obviously the same thing with the media. You want to be ultra familiar with the format of the show, how long it is, how much time they give their guests, all of those kinds of things, so you know exactly how to time your responses, which we're going to get to in a minute. I'm going to talk about that too. So most important is first listen to the show. If it's media, you're going to listen or watch the show. And also I am giving you a free report, which is called the 100-word email that can get the media and also any podcaster to call you. So it's how to pitch them properly. And so you get a response back, because realize that any person in the media and any podcaster, especially if the popular ones, are getting hundreds, dozens, and then hundreds of responses all the time. So you want to cut through the noise and get their attention. So watch the podcast, listen to the podcast. Number two is take a look in the bio section, like how do they set up their page? How do they set up how they introduce their guests? You know, often you can read that. So when you are pitching them, you want to pitch your bio, you know, what you have to offer in the same format, so they don't have to do any editing. Oftentimes podcasters also will ask you to, what are the questions you want me to ask you? So you want to have all of those prepared. You want to have your topic prepared, and then you want to have all the questions that you want the podcaster to ask you. And you also want to have your tags so you know what topics that you can easily discuss. So pitching the podcaster, you want to do it in such a way that it's going to get their attention right away. So it's short, sweet. That's it. You want to say, here's what I'd like to talk about, and here's why it would be right for your audience. It's really just those two things. And after you've listened to some of the podcasts, if you want, you can even say, you know, you had a conversation around this topic, and I'm going to talk about this in a different way, or I'm going to add to this conversation. Because if they've already had a guest on, you know it's something that they're interested in. The other thing that you want to make sure to do when you pitch a podcaster is pitch them in the way that they like. So if they have what do you call it? A pre-done form, you want to fill that out with the information that they ask for. That's one thing that Kelly told me is that also drives her a little crazy, is that people do not fill out that form. And so she doesn't have the information that she needs in order to book a guest. So you really want to pay attention to what that podcaster wants. It's the same thing for the media. I know for myself, when since I write for the Huffington Post and I also write for Psychology Today, sometimes I post what's called queries on Harrow. And what that means is I ask for experts and I ask them to respond in a certain way. And I give very explicit instructions. How many times do you think people do not pay attention to those instructions? I would say 90%. And guess what happens to those responses? Out the window. In the trash. Because I, who am not a reporter, right, a typical reporter, I'm not getting hundreds of these in my inbox. You know, I just toss them in the trash and move on to the next one. If you don't give me what I want, I move on. So reporters are the same way. If they ask for something, they want it given in a specific format. You want to give them what they ask for in the format that they ask for it in. Exactly. And that might sound kind of obvious to you. Susan, of course, this is what I'm going to do. But you will be in the minority and you will rise to the top if you do this, because 90% of the people don't pay attention to those kind of details. They may not even think that they're important, but they're extremely important. I can tell you that. Another thing, okay, so that is pitching the podcast, right? Now, oh glory day, you get booked on the podcast. That's very wonderful. Sometimes. Because one of the things you don't want to do is ramble. You want to have your sound bites, you want to have your messages, you want to have your stories already down to what you're going to talk about. And that may seem, sort of silly, like, oh, I just want to have this kind of conversation. No, you have a mission. What is it that you want to accomplish by being on this podcast? And that mission, who you want to reach, who you want to speak to, is going to, what's the word I'm saying? That is going to, I hate it when I have this brain, poof, out the brain. That is going to dictate, that is the D word that I'm looking for. That is going to dictate what it is you say that's going to resonate with your audience, right? So you want to have those sound bites down. You want to have those stories down that relate very tightly to your topic, and you want to be able to say them, on the spot, even if the podcaster doesn't ask you the question that you had anticipated. Because every podcast is an opportunity to get your message out and be both entertaining, be lively, be informative, and also drive the business that you want back to yourself. I'd love to hear what you think about this and whatever questions you have. So talk to you soon.